Well, we're going to do just a talking version today of scripting, which makes sense because it is all about words, right? And I'll keep trying on my end. Oh, jeez. All right. So,
You don't have like a guy that will fix your laptop for 99 bucks like around the corner?
yeah, actually, the irony is the only thing that was wrong with my laptop was the HDMI port stopped working.
Mhm.
And the only way to get it working again was to ship my laptop back to HP, which I did. And so I have to do without it for 8 days while they fix it.
You need a local guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm old and I've always fixed everything myself. So I'm the type that doesn't worry too much about having a tech guy.
Ugh.
And that might be a mistake, but anyway. So as you guys and gals may recall, last week we wanted to talk about sellers who lack motivation or want to delay or aren't ready to do it now and all the various excuses, right? So we're kind of getting into seller objection handling, right? I mean, the most common objections are going to be, uh, what are you going to charge me? And what are you going to list it for? But you can have other objections like now is not the right time, or I want to wait, or whatever. And they're kind of waffling, right? So the first thing I wanted to talk about is how important it is to understand the seller's emotional why. Like, why did they contact you in the first place, right? And usually it's, you know, something to do outside of their home, like a marriage or a divorce or a grandbaby being born and they want to be closer to family. I had a conversation yesterday for an hour listening to a man grieve his marriage. And that's his emotional why is the divorce, right? And all you can do is be there for people, right? But I think a mistake that a lot of real estate brokers make is they um, they don't listen or they don't ask the right questions to get to the bottom of what is that person's motivation, right? And the reason it's such a huge mistake is I want you to think about the seller's emotional why is like an exposed nerve. Like you can push on that nerve at various times during the meetings and the conversations to make sure that they stay focused on I'm really wanting to be in Florida near my grandchild or whatever it is, right? So a lot of the dialogues that I use in these circumstances are either going to remind them of their why or force them to think of their why, right? Because, you basically do the takeaway close. So one of my favorite dialogues when I have somebody, and I guess I probably use this more when somebody's unrealistic about price. And I simply say, well, why not stay? And they look at you like, what are you talking about? I wouldn't have you here if I wanted to stay, right? But it forces them to go, well, what do you mean? Well, your home's we did I should preface all this with the color picture CMA tour process. Do you guys remember that meeting that we had and I walked through that? And I'll share the link to it at the end today. If you haven't seen that video, I encourage you all to watch it because, even if you don't like or agree with the dialogues I share on these meetings, that that process alone has made me millions by forcing sellers to be realistic about price. So with that as the context, when somebody is still unrealistic about price, it's a lot easier to say, well, why not stay? And they look at you like, what are you talking about? You go, well, your home's not worth 900,000. We just went through all the comps and we know that if we put your home on the market, it will not get an offer for 900,000. So why not stay? And it kind of forces them to dig into their why even further and recommit to it, right? Like, well, I hear what you're saying, but I really got to get down to Florida. I'll stick with that emotional why as the example, right? My grandson was born a month ago. He's going to be, 10 before I know it. I want to be there. Okay. Well, let's look, let's go back through the comps and figure out what your home will sell for. And if that's not motivating, then there's, there's nothing wrong with that. Here's another great dialogue when you get into these sorts of conversations. What you want for your home, the market doesn't care what you want, right? The definition of market value is what a buyer's willing to pay and a seller's willing to accept, period. So you've already made it clear that you're willing to accept 900, but if a buyer's not willing to pay that, that's not the market value, no matter how much you want 900, right? So you can kind of drill into these apprehensions, I guess is the best way to put it. But in the end, the market's going to bring what the market's going to bring, right? So helping people realize uh, that maybe they came to the table hoping you were going to give them good news that their home's worth 900 isn't, it's not up to me either, right? Like the consumer respects your knowledge, or at least will come to respect it as you treat them ethically and with character and competence and all the things we talk about, right? But in the end, it's the market that decides the value of the home, right? So I I will use versions of that in this sort of context, but why not stay is a really powerful, easy, quick dialogue that gets people to really rethink their motivation and dig back in, right? Another one that works very well in this context is, hey, you know what? I'd rather disappoint you today than disappoint you 30 or 90 days from now, right? And I deliberately say 30 or 90 because 30 doesn't sound like a long time, but then they realize it's actually an unknown, right? We put it on the market for 900, we could be languishing for 6 months and then you're still going to be disappointed, right? So, hey, I'd rather disappoint you today than disappoint you 30 or 90 days from now. And they look at you like, oh, I didn't think of that. Allison, you got your hand up. Is there a question relating to this?
Yeah, I have the seller that I think I did my listing presentation for them in October. And I said, when are you gonna sell? And they're like, no. I'm like, no, I don't know. So their motivation, they're older, their health is not good all at all. It's a couple. And they want to move to Sacramento to be closer to their children who are nurses so they can help take care of them. And they need to declutter massively. And so I keep texting them, the market's hot right now. I'm concerned that, if they wait, longer, there's going to be more competition. So is there anything I could say to them? I'll roll in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. And in fact, one of the kind of scenarios I was thinking about when I was thinking about what to talk about this morning, because, in the end, people have their motivation. Their emotional why is very clear. There's also a sprinkling of, people move towards pleasure and away from pain. Well, living in a hoarder house and having to maintain something while you're tiptoeing around all the crap you've got stacked up in every room or, whatever, that's pain. So they've got both moving towards pleasure where their kids are in Sacramento, but also moving away from pain, which is maintaining this nightmare of a house. So how can you address that with somebody? Well, I like to use the urgency, sort of messaging because You remember a couple of weeks ago, I said a week sooner is better than a week later, right? It's kind of along those themes, except with it and the additional benefit to the seller of the longer you wait, the more competition you're going to have, right? Because we all know that the market inventory goes up in March, April, May, starts to then recede in June, July, August, but it's still above average during those months. That whole theme, right? And that curve is true in all of our markets. So when you're talking to somebody who wants to be in another state or just wants to relocate or whatever, you can use fear of a lower price due to more competition, a slower sale due to more competition, right? And even failure potentially. So when I'm talking to people, I'm never the, doom and gloom guy, but I absolutely will say, you know, right now, here's what the market is doing. Like Allison even said, the market's hot right now, right? Time is also our enemy when it comes to the market shifting, right? So the longer you wait, the less I can tell you what's going to happen next in the market. So we should get going, right? And then you can reassure them. This is a great example, Allison, because it kind of addresses both sides of this dynamic. You can give them the urgency dialogues like we just covered, but you can also help them feel like it's not going to be this fire drill type thing, because I followed up with, hey, and you know what else, Allison? We just have to sit down and figure out how much time do you need to get the house ready? And my system works best if launched on a Thursday. So we're just trying to identify, well, which Thursday? And it could be a Thursday in March, right? So usually by the time I start getting into those dialogues, it's we've had a number of discussions about what is still to be done. In fact, that might be a good topic for next week. Is I always start my listing presentation with 3 questions. Before I even open up my laptop, I ask 3 qualifying questions. So I'll plan to cover those next week because they're very insightful. They help me tailor my presentation based on their answers. My slide deck, if you guys have watched the video of me going through that, it covers a zillion things, right? We have 155.
Can we drop that in the chat also, that link?
The slide deck or the video?
The video.
Yeah, if I could get online, I would.
Video Autumn.
Autumn, can you find the listing presentation version of this meeting that I did, I think in October or something like that?
I'll get it. Thank you.
Thank you. And maybe the color picture CMA tour one as well, if you don't mind, because
Yeah.
I have that in my slide deck that you guys can't see. But by the way, I've now failed 3 more times while we're talking to get in.
Failing forward.
Yeah. And I rebooted once while we've been talking. So, but getting back to Allison's example, right? It's hey, we need to hurry up, but let's not let it be a stress for you. So let's talk about what the steps are, what the to-dos are, and how long those to-dos are going to take. I'll give you a great example. And I think I touched on this a week or 2 ago. I had a client that was lined up to go on the market January 23rd or whatever that Thursday was. It's now, tomorrow will be March 1st. It's still not on the market. And we talk every week, and I'm polite and courteous, and I try and instill urgency without instilling pressure. And they're Brazilian. Their English is perfect, but it's definitely a kind of a foreign experience for them. They've never sold a house in America, and they're doing it to move back to Brazil. And so I've been educating them a ton, but I have to tread lightly about stressing them out. So I just check in. Hey, we have these 2 things left, or because we started with like 7 things. And that the issue on the timing is not even their fault. It's they live in an HOA, so a lot of the exterior stuff that's needed has to be done by the HOA. Otherwise, they would have to pay for it, which I respect. Like, yeah, let's get those bastards to do what they're supposed to do, right? But at the same time, I have to check in very weekly and say, all right, how's it going? Any progress on the crawl space? That's one of the bigger things, you know? And and they're like, yeah, still don't have a date. And I've said repeatedly, uh, you know, the crawl space is a great example of something that we don't have to have perfect before we go on the market because nobody can see it. And they're like, really? I go, yeah. Buyers don't lift the crawl space access and look underneath the house. The inspector will, the appraiser might, right? But buyers don't. So, and the crawl space isn't like rodent infested. There's just evidence of previous rodents. But the wife is disgusted by it, which is not uncommon, right? For buyers either. And they're really honorable people. They don't want to pass a house on to the next party in this condition. To which I, of course, say, oh, of course not. Neither do I. But here's the beautiful thing. We don't have to squander this opportunity to get it on the market uh, because that's the type of thing that could be done while it's in escrow or done while we're marketing. You know, we're not putting the brakes on getting it addressed. We just don't know how long it's going to take. So anyway, that's the case I made. It failed. It didn't work. They're just adamant. Nope, we don't want to put it on the market until everything is done. In fact, the last conversation, the wife said, dealing with the HOA has been a nightmare, and we don't want the buyer to have to deal with the HOA. So we're gonna get all this stuff fixed. I'm like, I honestly respect that, and I appreciate that. I just wanted you to know what your options were.
But as a buyer, buyers would appreciate the fact that they started the process and that they have everything in writing. You know, I sent this email, and they're gonna fix it. They're just
Yeah,
the time,
yeah.
if
No,
that
you
helps.
you're on the same page as me. I just can't get them onto the same page as me. It's like windows are a great example, right? When you have a broken seal, ordering a window could take 12 weeks. Well, it's probably going to get installed after closing, right? So, um, but in the end, and this is true for all of us in every situation, it's not our decision, right? It's not our house. It's their call. It's what are they comfortable with? And I'm here to support that. So if you're able to communicate that and make people feel comfortable that that's your priority is whatever their priority is, they're going to trust and follow along with you, right? That's why I invested an hour yesterday listening to this poor man grieve his marriage. It didn't really have a lot to do with me getting his property sold, did it? But by the end of it, he was telling me things. He said like three different times, I don't think I told you this the first time we met. I'm like, no, you didn't. So um, it just takes time for people to know, like, and trust us, right? Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. People that are really good in this business, like all you guys, hopefully me too, are able to generate that pretty quickly in people. And if it takes more time, invest more time, right? All right. I'm rebooting, which also made me close my slide deck. So let me make sure I haven't forgotten. My phone keeps at the top, it'll tell you when you're in the phone version. Uh, it keeps saying Ed Lane left. I'm like, I have not. You keep kicking me out. But I appreciate you guys enduring. All right. So covered. I'd rather disappoint you today than disappoint you 30 or 90 days from now. Um, Yeah. The only other one was if you wait, you'll have more other sellers to compete with. Do you really want that? So, what about you guys? Is there any dialogues that you've used when you have a seller who's on the fence or waffling or wanting to delay? If not, we got 6 minutes left, and we can open this up to other scenarios that you're in right now that you'd like to know what I would say if I were in that scenario. Does anyone have something that's a challenge? Go ahead, Allison.
So I have a guy, I've known him for several years. I've known his dad. They're in the complex next door, and he rented it out. And every year when the tenant expires, we talk about it. And so March is when the tenant's lease is expiring. And he said they extended it 6 months last time. And he said the tenant wants to buy it. And he found out that if the tenant buys it, the property management company will get the commission. He said, I'm really sorry, Allison. So I texted him and he said, I'm really busy. I'll get back to you. So I'm thinking that's good because otherwise he'd say, they're going to buy it. And so we talked about doing a 1031 exchange because this is all paid for. And, possibly buying he's got 2 kids. So possibly buying 2 properties in Arizona, so each kid, when they pass away has their own, they don't have to fight, over how to do business, So, and he loved that. So, I don't know if you have any suggestions on the dialogue when he finally does call me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big.
By the way, the 2 listings in there right now, the pending ones, went like this, and his is completely remodeled. So yeah.
That's the angle, right? It's selling off market in this market is a huge mistake. So what I would explain to him is, while I can appreciate the ease of the property management company helping you facilitate the sale, in the end, they're a property management company. They don't have the skills and the tools that I use to help people get top dollar, right? And if I were in your shoes, I would want to get the most amount of money for it. And the only way to know that you got the most is to expose it to the largest audience. That's a really powerful dialogue, right? Because what he's considering doing is exposing it to one person.
I have a feeling they can't afford it, but no, because the price has gone up.
Yeah. Well, and that'll help you if it's true, but if it's not true, we don't want to just rely on that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But
This is good. This is good stuff. Thanks.
yeah, no, that's
Yeah, I've got all these bars and sellers are like, but no one's popping. I'm like, I gotta push something through, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of us have, like seasons of our business where I got 35 people I'm talking to, but none of them are ready to do anything. So that's why, in the end, it's their decision. So you kind of have to be patient, but
expose it to a large audience, like get as many eyeballs on it.
yep. That's the only possible way to know that you're getting the most for your place, I just uninstalled Zoom and now I'm trying to reinstall it and my computer's like, do you want to use the Microsoft Store to reinstall it? No, I just want it to load. Jesus. Anyway, Suma, you came off mute. I assume you had a question or you good?
I think you answered. I have a seller. They told me come and let us list. I went there. They were okay. Then by the time after I came and prepared the like marketing material, everything. They told, Suma, I think we want to try ourselves, we will sell by owner. We are going to do that. Then if it doesn't sell, then I would like to hire you. Give me 1 month time.
Okay.
I told them, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I can tell you the dialogues I would use if you felt like they might be able to be convinced, which is, you know what the average percentage of FISBO to
I told them.
what percentage?
I think 38%.
It's gone up. Yeah, the last time I checked, it was 26.
Okay.
So just we spoke shorthand, so let me say it completely for everyone's benefit, because this will come up to you guys. When you're talking to somebody who's considering FISBO, say, hey, you know what? I'm happy to be a resource for you and help. One thing you might not realize, though, is the average for sale by owner sells for 38% less than the average represented seller. That's huge,
Yeah.
right? Like my median here in Seattle is 960,000. That's more than $250,000, right? It's 300 and something thousand. So, that is what I call knee buckling logic, right? Where a seller's like, wow, because you only have one chance to make a first impression, right? The other dialogues you can use to help somebody not squander this opportunity is explain to them the traffic that listings get. Because if you're for sale by owner, like I wish I had my computer working right now, but what I'll do on a pad of paper is I'll draw a diagram, and it's an arc that goes up and then down and then it tails off into the distance. And then I separate the bump part of the arc, and I go, this is the first 2 weeks. This is a forecast of traffic for every listing everywhere. The first 2 weeks is the heaviest and most trafficked. So, do you want to have a marketing engine like mine putting your home in front of every eyeball that's even looking in this area? Right? Like, part of what you have to do in your listing presentation is differentiate yourself not only from other realtors, but from just the MLS, right? Because a lot of property owners think all I need to do is get my house on the MLS and it'll sell.
Yeah.
But if we don't do all these other things, then yeah, it'll sell, but it won't sell for as much.
Correct.
Right? Like, I don't know if you guys have this in your listing presentation, but I have a slide dedicated to here's what the average listing sells for on a list price to sale price ratio analysis. And here's what mine sell for. And it's powerful, right? Because on my listing presentation in our market, the average listing sells for 100.4%. My average listing sells for 103.8. So I get 3.5% more money.
Yeah.
And the best part of that slide is people literally look at it and they go, so your system pays for itself. And I go, exactly. Or I'll say, can I quote you on that? Because you're right. Right. And the other thing I draw their attention to is, guess what? In that 100.4 number, I'm in that number. My stats are part of that number. So if they removed me, it would actually go lower because I'm lifting it, right?
Yeah.
So these are all things you can say. And if you've got a listing presentation you use, add that. Check out your own stats, right? Like showing what you do helps people. Deepali, you have your hand up. And you are muted.
Hi, Ed.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ed, I have a question actually. It's not related, but kind of.
That's
So just as Alison and Suma mentioned, there are off-market properties people are interested in selling. Do we have any place like, where such off-market properties has been like, put for our agents, for some buyers who are interested in?
So, off-market properties in the state of Washington are illegal, not illegal against the law, but illegal against MLS rules. So if we have a rule called Rule 2C that says if we market a property that's not on the MLS, it's a $10,000 fine.
Oh,
So the answer to your question, Deepali, because you're a member of the MLS and you're in Washington, is unfortunately no, and it's for good reason. What you can do, and have you ever looked? Deepali's relatively new with my team, but if you're with EXP, we have EXP exclusives, which is a Zenlist app, and you can take your listings. In Washington, you'd have to put it on the market first and then put it into EXP exclusives. But the reason EXP created the exclusives is because ours is only one of two MLSs in the whole country that has this rule. That's why most of you that are in other states, you've probably seen Zillow has a coming soon section. That's because it's not a $10,000 fine in your market, but it is in mine. So what I tell people, Deepali, on the team that are here in Washington is use exclusives to promote your listing, because there are people that only look there. But we can't really go and shop there for off-market deals in Washington. You can definitely find off-market deals outside of Washington, though.
oh, interesting. I didn't know that, because I have seen a lot of like, buyers asking for off-market, and also like usually we get calls from the agents, right? They don't know you are an agent, and they call and they are like, I have an off-market property. You might be interested. I have a list of properties. I was like, oh, this is a new technique. It seems.
Yeah. Well, and off-market, our value proposition for buyers is I call it a gold brick, right? You want to have a value proposition that you can say in 30 seconds or less, like an elevator pitch, right? And ours is, hey, what if I could get you priority access to off-market properties before they hit the MLS or the internet? Do you think that would help you find a good deal?
Exactly. That's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant. So
And you want to know what's funny is you said it's something new. I've been saying that dialogue for 15 years.
exactly, that's what I meant actually. That off-market listings coming prior to the. So how do the buyers benefit from this thing? If we are not able to like market these properties before it's the MLS, how do the how can it benefit us or the buyers?
I don't have time this morning to cover our off-market system, but we've sold as many as 100 homes a year off-market, and we do it by using direct mail to find sellers for our buyers. We call it our buyer match program. So
Maybe we can go over that in a couple weeks.
yeah, I mean, why don't we do the qualifying questions next week, and then we'll do the off-market tools and how to talk to buyers. And really what I've been doing is here's how we talk to sellers, because we're in a seller's market, but it's probably time to shift to buyers anyway, so we can start covering that. But that's the plan. We've got our next 2 weeks mapped out now.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ed.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you so much.
Sorry that I wasn't able to share my screen, but I
No, you're
Hey, there's good information.
good.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
have
for
bundle
sharing.
of knowledge. Bundle of knowledge. You don't need any internet.
I just need a megaphone, right?
Yeah, you have everything. Yeah.
Thanks for the role play on the 2 listings.
Yeah, good luck. Let me know how that works.
I will.
All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you, dear.
Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.